On today's video, we're going to talk about action point potions, when you should spend your action point potions. This video is going to cover all the range of Rise of Kingdoms from early game all the way to end game. When is the best time to get the best bang out of your buck and utilize your action point potions? So if you always ask yourself, I wonder where I should spend them next, this is the video for you. So sit back, enjoy the video, slap a like on it if you found it helpful, informative, useful, or anything. And yeah, let's get on with it. Hey there YouTube, welcome back to Gekko Gaming. Today we're going to focus on action points. Action points is a third level of, I guess, currency, quote unquote, you can call it. Kind of like resources and gems, you also have action points. Action points are the currency you need to use in order to do some sort of actions within the game. Some of the most important actions in the game require you to use action points, such as Barbarian Hunting, primarily, as well as fort rallying, dauntless Lohar rallies, and many other events such as Karach. And even, I believe, Shadow Legion required a little bit of AP at some point, even though we never saw Shadow Legion, but whatever. There are a bunch of different uses for AP in the game, and the most scarce thing in the game, one of the most scarce things in this game, are AP potions, which allow you to recover action points within a click. A lot of you folks ask me more than once during streams if you should use your action points during certain situations, and I never really covered this in depth, but today we're going to start from early game all the way from day 2 in the game all the way to late game, end game type of things, when to use your action point potions. So in the early game, I think on day 2 or 3 of a kingdom existing, the first event pops up that you should be spending most of your AP potions in during the early game. That is none other than an event that's going on right now, Lohar's Trial. Lohar's Trial is by far the best event early game to spend your AP potions on to get ahead. Why is this? Two big main reasons, and a third one has joined the fray a few weeks ago, very early, in the very near future, right? The first reason, as an early player, is to unlock Lohar and max him out. Lohar is one of the most useful commanders to go hunt barbarians and to do a lot of work with on the field, in order to get as much XP into these commanders and get really a lot of damage done primarily to barbarians. Lohar is super useful for plenty of events across the board, among being a leading commander when it comes to barbarian hunting, fort hunting, and so forth and so on. Lohar getting maxed out is pretty much a must, and the only way you can get his commander sculptures is through Lohar rallies. And so the big reason why I recommend using AP is not to rally Lohars, but rather to kill barbarians during the Lohar Trial event. When you kill barbarians during the Lohar Trial event, you'll end up getting these bone necklaces. And these bone necklaces can include an array of rewards, which include but are not limited to speed ups, resources, 5-minute speed ups of all kind, resources. I think these are the first level of the greens of each, second level of the greens and first level of the greens. You can get boatloads of arrows of resistance, which is really the most important thing out of these bone necklaces, is the arrows of resistance. I'll explain why in a second. Lohar longbows, as well as dauntless Lohar tiles, and of course the speed ups. In the Lohar necklaces, on top of getting longbow Lohars, as well as potential Lohar's buckler, which are dauntless Lohars, you get a substantial amount of arrowheads. Usually you get between 1 to 2 arrowheads per necklace, and these are critical for you to advance in the game and get that wall of yours, more specifically not the wall but the watchtower, to level 25, which is a requirement to get tier 5s. These arrowheads, the best way to get them is with bone necklaces. And so your objective in the early game is to get as many barbarians as you can humanly get with the Lohar Trial, and then you can use your AP naturally through time to to get these Lohar sculptures through rallying Dauntless Lohars. One thing I have not covered at all, and is a very important thing to notice, is that action points recover over time. The higher your VIP level is, the more action points you can accrue at one time, and the faster your action points recover. At this stage, I make every 24 seconds an action point, which is a total of 3,600 AP a day. Before we even start talking about potions, it is critical for you to spend your AP on the day-to-day, but things like Lohar rallies are things you can leave for days when there aren't events worth spending AP potions on. You should be using your AP potions to hit barbarians for Lohar necklaces, but not for rallies on Lohars. That you should leave for normal, regular gained AP. By the way, rallying Lohars is also critical nowadays, as after the last couple of updates, Lohars, both Dauntless and Junior, now contain blueprints on top of the Lohar sculptures, which was the most important thing out of this, which makes these Lohar Dauntless rallies and Junior Lohars even more critical. So again, early game, first thing you do, hunt a lot of barbarians, get a lot of those necklaces, spend your AP there early on, you will not regret it. The second event that is somewhat useful, you can spend AP on it. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it, but if you feel like there's a good return and you want to get that Cleopatra a little bit ahead, is Strategic Reserve. Now, my problem with Strategic Reserve per se is that there isn't a reward in it that is really, really worth it, like Lohars for blueprints or arrowheads from the necklaces. And so while I don't think that Strategic Reserve is an event you should be spending heavily on, it is an event that is very important for you to remember and know about. It will pop in the early game quite early too. And so it is a possibility to spend a little bit of AP if you want to get competitive and get that Strategic Reserve event done. But the reason this is on my list in second place is that first and second place will come up again later on in the list in another permutation. So it was really important to keep an eye on it. But if you ask me whether number 2 or number 3 in my list are more important, I would go with number 3 first, number 3 being Karach Ceremony. The most important thing about Strategic Reserve, by the way, is just like in Lohar with the necklaces, you get these chests, which I currently don't have any, and these will give you also extra resources, extra potential gems, extra potential keys, and speed ups as well. So again, it's a better bang for your buck. I would prefer to keep my AP potions in the early game a little bit for the first Karach Ceremony. The Karach Ceremony requires of you to summon 50 Karachs at total, which will cost you a pretty big amount, 5,000 AP. And on top of that, you're going to have to hit those Karachs, which are considered like regular barbarians-ish. So you're going to need the AP to get rid of all these levels of barbarians, or to rally every single one of these levels, potentially. And so you will need AP potions to finish up this event, which is a 2 or 3 day event. Technically speaking, if you spread it out and you do it right, you don't need AP potions. But more often than not, you end up spending a few on the Karach Ceremony, and yet you wouldn't be making a mistake if you do spend AP on Karach. I do prefer spending AP on Karach over Strategic Reserve if it means that I will for sure finish Karach. The fourth event that is, in my opinion, pretty key to spend AP on is the Eve of the Crusade. Now we're starting to go a little bit towards the later stage of the mid game. By the time you reach this stage, you'd already seen Lohars, you'd already seen Strategic Reserve, you've already seen Karach Ceremonies, and you've seen other potential seasonal events that require you to hunt some barbarians, to do some barbarian chaining, or to keep a march out as long as possible, or just to hunt a lot of barbarians for these different rewards that you get. We'll talk about that as well. But the most important key event coming into the middle/late game of Rise of Kingdoms is Eve of the Crusade. It's the event that happens before Lost Kingdom begins. And during its first stage, there is a Marauders stage where Marauders, who are a little bit of a stronger barbarians, invade the map. And destroying these Marauders will get you satchels, which can then get you these scrolls, which can get you chests, which can get you rewards, which are amazing. By this time, you've already spent a big part of your AP during Lohar trials, and you've spent a little bit of AP on Karach, but now you should have a decent amount of AP, depending on how heavy you go. You should have a good maybe 30,000+ AP saved up. In that case, Eve of the Crusade is a great place to drop some AP. I would use 80% of your AP during Eve of the Crusade for Marauders hunting, and keep a little bit for the Lost Kingdom. Those Marauder rewards are extra juicy, and spending your AP on there is very worth it. The reason I leave 20% worth of AP in my for myself for Lost Kingdom is for potentially competing within Lost Kingdom. So our fourth spot to spend AP on was the Eve of the Crusade, specifically on Marauders. I would not spend AP on rallying forts. I would definitely spend the AP though on hunting Marauders as many as humanly possible. The reason we're leaving at 20% is for the fifth point, which is Barbarian Hunting during Lost Kingdom. Barbarian Hunting during Lost Kingdom is by far the best thing you can do inside the Lost Kingdom. Spending your AP on the day-to-day, making sure you're hunting as many barbarians as possible, will not only reward you a substantial amount of resources. You can see right here, someone who hasn't spent as much time hunting barbarians during Lost Kingdom, and all of this came from the Lost Kingdom. A huge chunk of all of these came out of Lost Kingdom as well, and all that came out of barbarian hunting strictly. The barbarians in Lost Kingdom drop a lot of resources, a lot of gems. They also drop a ton of the arrowheads, their infamous arrowheads. And so leaving yourself a little bit of AP to hunt during the Lost Kingdom is a really good idea, especially because hunting during the Lost Kingdom is very required for individual honor points, as well as if you're trying to compete for the skins and the top 20 individual honor points in Lost Kingdom, you're going to need a good reserve of AP potions. But not everybody can compete at that, and you should be doing your calculations and trying to figure it out early on. And if you see that things are getting a little out of hand, get out of the race while it's early and use up your AP in better spots. The reason I put Lohar's Trial and Strategic Reserve in number 1 and number 2 is exactly this. These two events do come up during Lost Kingdom, so you can double up. You can Lohar while Lost Kingdom barbarianing, and you can even get to a point where you have Lohar's Strategic Reserve and Lost Kingdom happening at the same time. I think that happened to us once during Season 1, and it was amazing. One barbarian, tons of gems, tons of speed ups, tons of resources, Lohar necklaces, and the supply boxes. It was unbelievable. So, the 5 places through the game you should be spending your AP potions are Lohar Trial and Lohar Adventures. Those you should focus on quite significantly until you find yourself at a decent shape in terms of arrowheads to get that watchtower to 25, and then you can let go of that Lohar a little bit more. Of course, by that time you should have Lohar maxed out as well. A Strategic Reserve is always nice to do. Spend that extra AP if you want to get a little bit of extra rewards out of it. It's not the most recommended event, but I still have it in second place, as you can get Cleopatra out of it, who can be very significant for gathering and a few other things, including healing. From there, Karach Ceremonies are almost a must. A lot of sculptures out of those, a lot of potential resources out of those. If you want to help out your alliance with joining rallies, you will get good rewards for spending your AP. So Karach Ceremony is a good place to drop some of your AP potions. Eve of the Crusade is where I would drop a big substantial part to get as many Marauders as you can to help your kingdom rank on the top, as well as get the juicy rewards out of those Marauders. And then finally, Lost Kingdom Barbarian Hunting, doing a compound of Barbarian Hunting with point 1, 2, and even 3 can be really good for your AP bang for your buck. 2 final questions to answer. Clarion Call and those kinds of events, is it worth spending my AP potions on? No. Do not spend your AP potions on events such as, for example, the Mighty Army, in which you need to defeat 30 barbarians to get a gold key. You can do that with your natural AP, and you should keep your eye out for these types of events and make sure that you utilize your AP to get this extra bang for your buck. Natural AP through the 3 days of Mighty Army can get you 600 free AP potions, just like that. So it's definitely key to keep an eye on it. As you can see, my alliance JWM rallying Lohars like crazy for those blueprints with their natural AP. We're about to do that too. But do not waste AP potions on these types of events. The only time I would say spend AP on events that is more a bit out there, that isn't Lohar, that isn't strategic reserve, maybe during seasonal events, because you're trying to get to that level 25 to get the extra items. You go out hunting for more barbarians. That is okay too, but don't spend too much. You can definitely get to level 25 without spending AP, and I'll put a card up on the top for that video in case you guys haven't seen that video yet. So you can definitely get that without spending AP. If you do spend AP though on the seasonal events, it's not the worst thing to do, but again, there are better places to do it. Anyway, where do you guys spend your AP potions? Leave me a comment down below and let me know. Is there anywhere you guys would prefer to spend your AP potions? I don't spend AP potions on the day-to-day when it comes to hunting barbarians. I do spend AP potions when it comes to hunting in Lost Kingdom. When it comes to Lohar adventures, Lohar trials, especially early on, I did spend some AP getting Lohars for that Watchtower 25. And usually Eve of the Crusade is where I spend most of my my AP that is not within the Lost Kingdom, events that are still happening within the kingdom. Let me know where you guys spend your AP. If this video was helpful, informative, useful, slap a like on it, and of course subscribe to the channel if you haven't just yet. I'm Gekko, I'm out of here. Thank you guys very much for watching this video. Thank you for all your continuous support. Thank you for being part of this Rise of Kingdoms community and joining me on the adventure of growing this channel and growing this community to the amazing things that it's doing and it's becoming. Thank you again for everything and anything. Don't forget to join Discord, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, all in the description down below. And I'll see you sooner rather than later. We just disconnected in time. Take care. Peace.